Hey friends, tonight we step into a different kind of world, not one of chaos or noise, but one of silence, stillness and wisdom. A world where monks speak in riddles, masters teach by saying nothing, and somehow letting go becomes easier than holding on. So before we begin, go ahead and dim the lights. Maybe turn on a soft fan, light a candle, or just pull the blanket up a little higher. This is your time. If you enjoy these sleep stories journeys, feel free to like the video, subscribe if it feels right, and drop a comment to tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I love seeing the peaceful little corners of the world we gather in. Now, take a breath with me. Inhale, softly. Exhale, slowly. Let the day fall behind you. Because tonight, we walk together into ancient Zen stories and Buddhist teachings, not just to learn something, but to let go of something. Your pain, your stress, your suffering, even just for tonight. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Door to Stillness. Peace does not arrive with force. It appears when the noise within us grows quiet enough to hear it. The night has arrived, not just outside your window, but within you, all day. Your mind has been running, reaching, remembering, regretting, repeating, like a river trying to find its way home. But now, the current slows. You are no longer rushing. You are returning, back to something ancient, quiet, and still. Before we begin the teachings, before we meet the masters, before we enter the world of Zen, let us arrive here, truly arrive within ourselves. Close your eyes if you haven't already, not to escape the world, but to see it from the inside out. Breathe slowly, not deeply, just slowly. Let this breath be a soft exhale of the day, a quiet bow to your nervous system, a whispered message to your inner world that says, you may rest now. There is nothing to figure out, nothing to fix, nothing to prove. You are not here to perform stillness. You are here to remember it. And you will, because stillness has never left you. It has only been buried, beneath thought, beneath fear, beneath the loud footsteps of expectation. But tonight, the ground softens, and what was buried begins to rise. Not with urgency, but with grace. Imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a quiet Zen garden. The moonlight kisses the tips of raked gravel lines. Each line a wave of quiet thought, a ripple of intention. There is no noise, no demand, no past, no future. Just the present, and it is enough. You take a step forward barefoot. The ground feels cool and familiar. Each footstep a gentle return to the body. There is a wooden walkway ahead, slightly worn from centuries of monks who walked in silence. You feel their presence still, like echoes carved into time. You follow it, slowly. The scent of pine and old incense lingers in the air. The breeze carries no urgency, only the permission to slow down. At the end of the walkway, you find a door. It is not grand. It is not locked. There is no handle, only stillness. This is the door to your inner peace, the doorway to tonight's journey. But here's the lesson. You don't open this door with your hands. You open it with your breath. Joj, breathe with me. Inhale, as if drawing the stars into your lungs. Exhale, as if releasing centuries of worry. Let's do that again. Slower this time. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale through the mouth. And again. Inhale, hold gently. Exhale and soften. As you breathe, the door opens. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped trying to. Stillness isn't something we earn. It is something we remember. Got the first teaching. A Zen master once said, "The quieter you become, the more you are able to hear." But hear what? Not words, not advice, not the clamour of the world. You begin to hear the truth, the quiet, unshakable truth that says, you are not your suffering. You are not your pain. You are not the thoughts you couldn't stop thinking. You are the space beneath them, the sky that holds every passing cloud, the temple that stands even when the bell is silent. You don't have to fight anymore. The war is over, if you let it be. The nature of letting go. Letting go is not an action. It's not something we do. It's what's left when we stop holding on, when the fingers of the mind unclench, when we stop trying to control what already happened, when we stop rehearsing every possible future and begin to soften into the only moment that's ever real, this one. And in this moment, you are safe. You are not judged. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are a breath in the vastness. And this breath is sacred. To understand everything is to forgive everything. Buddha. So tonight, we do not seek to understand all our suffering. We simply sit beside it as if it were a tired guest, no longer needing to defend its story. And we say to it, you may rest now too. The mountain inside you. Imagine again, you are in that Zen temple, but now you are seated inside on a cushion. The candle beside you flickers gently. There is no sound except your own breath. Outside the open window, a mountain stands in the distance. Still, vast, unmoved. That mountain is not somewhere far. It is you. Yes, you, the one who has cried and doubted and fallen and gotten back up. The one who carried more than they were ever meant to. The one who forgot their peace, but never lost it. That mountain has always been inside you. You don't need to climb it. You only need to sit and remember its shape. That is stillness. That is presence. That is the beginning of letting go. Sacred imagery for sleep. Now, I want you to imagine your body as a shell washed ashore. Not broken, just hollowed. Made clean by the tide of time. And tonight, the sea is returning. Not to take you, but to fill you. Let each breath be a wave. Let each exhale be an offering to the wind. And as the wind moves through the shell, a gentle song begins to hum. Not from your mouth, but from your being. The song says, I do not have to hold anything right now. I am allowed to rest. I am safe to feel peace, even if I don't understand why. Because in the way of Zen, understanding is not the doorway to peace. Stillness is. And tonight, you have entered that doorway. Final softening. As this chapter draws to a close, I invite you to release even the idea of needing to learn something. You don't need to get it. You don't need to become enlightened. You don't need to be a monk, a master, or a perfect human. You only need to sleep, to let your breath be your prayer, to let your rest be your wisdom. Let the teachings come like dreams, gentle, shapeless, and unforgettable. Let the stories come next, each one a lantern to guide you further inward. But for now, stay right here, on the doorstep of stillness, You have arrived. You are welcome here, exactly as you are. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. Tao Te Ching. Now, let us step forward together. The next chapter begins not with a thought, but with a question. What is suffering, and what happens when we stop resisting it? We will explore that next. But for now, close your eyes a little deeper, breathe a little slower, and know you are already healing. Chapter 2. What is suffering? Understanding the root. Before we can let go, we must understand what it is we've been holding. The air is still, and so are you. Not because there is nothing to feel, but because, finally, you are no longer running from it. Tonight, we explore the root of what we are here to release. Not to diagnose it, not to fight it, but simply to understand. Because when we understand, we soften. And when we soften, we create space. And in that space, suffering begins to dissolve. Not through force, but through awareness. What is suffering? In the teachings of the Buddha, suffering is called dukkha, a Sanskrit word that doesn't just mean pain, but something deeper. Dukkha is the ache of impermanence, the tightness of craving, the quiet tension beneath all our efforts to make life bend to our will. It is the feeling of, this is not how it should be. It is resistance to what is. It is the silent battle we fight against the changing nature of the world. We suffer when we hold on too tightly to people, to identities, to dreams, to past wounds, to future fears. We suffer when we want things to last, but they do not. We suffer when we want things to change, but they won't. We suffer when we tell ourselves, I cannot be okay until this is different. Zen teaches differently. Zen doesn't try to argue with suffering. It doesn't try to fix you. Instead, it asks a question. What if you simply noticed the suffering and didn't become it? What if the pain was not who you are, but something passing through, like a cloud through the sky, like a sound in the wind? What if you didn't need to fight it? What if you could sit beside it, like an old friend who's lost its way? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Buddhist teaching. Pain may arise, yes, but suffering is the story we tell about it. It is the resistance, the why me, the this shouldn't have happened, the I'll never be okay again. Zen invites us to return to what is without the story, to meet the pain with presence, to breathe into it instead of bracing against it, to say, this too is a part of the path, a gentle visualization. Imagine now you are seated by a small fire. It flickers gently, casting shadows on the ground. This fire is your awareness, and around it sit many guests. Each one is a piece of your life. There is the child version of you still tender. There is the anxious one always planning, always preparing. There is the grieving one still carrying a name you can't speak out loud. There is even the tired one, the one who just wants peace. Let them all sit. You don't need to push them away. You don't need to entertain them. Just let them be, by the fire. This is the path of compassion, to allow what arises to arise, and still remain seated in peace. Suffering comes not because these parts exist, but because we exile them, because we say, this version of me is not welcome. But tonight, we welcome them all, not forever, not to take over, just for now. What you resist persists. Think of suffering like a knot in the body. The more you pull and twist, the tighter it becomes. But when you stop pulling, when you breathe and soften, the knot begins to release. This is the paradox of Zen. To let go, you don't do more. You stop resisting what is. You let it pass. The bird does not cling to the sky. The sky does not cling to the bird. And yet, they meet. So too, with you and pain. Let it visit. Let it teach. Let it go. You are not here to be untouched by life. You are here to be free in the midst of it. And freedom does not mean you never feel sadness. It means sadness no longer defines you. A whisper to the one who's tired. If you are tired of hurting, tired of holding it all, tired of pretending you're okay, let me say this softly. It is okay to be tired. It is okay to feel lost. It is okay to cry, even if you don't know why. None of that means you are failing. It means you are human, and that is not a curse. It is a miracle. Zen does not ask you to be perfect. Only present. Only honest. Only still, for just long enough to notice that suffering cannot survive your awareness. There is no self to suffer. There is only the illusion of a self who clings. And in your sleep tonight, that illusion can fade. You don't need to figure it all out. You don't need to fix your life by morning. You only need to rest. And in that rest, something greater than your thoughts can begin to heal you. Affirmations for peaceful detachment. As we close this chapter, let these words repeat softly in the background of your breath. I am not my thoughts. I release the story of my pain. I allow what I feel without becoming it. I welcome peace, even if I don't understand it. I am allowed to rest. Let each phrase ripple out, like a wave washing away old patterns. Let your heart loosen. Let your mind slow. You are no longer carrying the whole world. You never had to. There is a deep wisdom inside you, older than your suffering, stronger than your fear, and tonight it is awakening. So sleep softly, knowing the next chapter will guide you deeper. We are not here to escape pain. We are here to stop becoming it. And in that choice, we are already free. Chapter 3. A soft place to begin again. Your breath. Return to the breath, not to control it, but to remember it has always been waiting for you. Let us begin again. Softly, gently, with no rush. There is no race here. No destination you must reach. No final lesson you must grasp before drifting into sleep. This path, the path of Zen, the path of peace, is not made of effort. It is made of remembering, of slowing, of breathing. So tonight, let us begin again. Not with a goal, but with a breath. You don't have to start over, just start here. Sometimes the weight of life makes us feel like we've fallen too far behind, like we've missed the moment, like we should have healed by now, moved on by now, let go by now. But Zen whispers something kinder. You don't have to go back to the beginning. You only have to return to where you are. And where are you now? Here, alive, breathing, present. That is enough. Each breath is a chance to begin again. Vik Nat Han. And so, my dear listener, breathe. Not to get anywhere. Not to improve anything. Just to arrive more fully here. The breath is not just air. The breath is more than oxygen. It is the rhythm of the universe moving through you. It is proof that you are not separate from life, that even when your thoughts feel chaotic, your breath remains faithful. It does not abandon you, even when you forget it for hours, for days, for years. It keeps returning. With every inhale, a gentle arrival. With every exhale, a sacred letting go. The breath is the master teacher, and tonight it becomes your companion, your guide, your lullaby, ode. Breathe with me. Let us now take a few breaths together. Not deep, not forced, just honest. Inhale, gently, like mist moving across still water. Exhale, like a leaf falling without resistance. Inhale, as if sipping from the silence. Exhale, as if releasing an old weight from the body. Again, inhale slowly. Exhale softer. There is no rush. There never was. Let your shoulders melt. Let your belly rise with ease. Let your jaw unclench. Let your spine grow longer, not through tension, but through grace. Feel how the breath begins to cradle you, like waves cradling a boat, like a mother holding her child. This is your soft place to begin again. In Zen, the breath is presence. A Zen master once said, "When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble." This is the heart of Zen. To do what you are doing, fully, gently, awake. When breathing, just breathe. Not as a means to another end, but as the end itself. When your mind wanders, let it. And then, kindly, return. Not because you failed, but because you remembered. This is the practice. To remember, to return, to begin again without punishment, without guilt, without story. You are allowed to return to yourself as many times as it takes. A visualization, breathing with the forest. Let's go on a gentle journey now. Close your eyes if they aren't already closed. Let the room disappear. Let the bed beneath you become soft moss. Let your blanket become a warm breeze. You are walking through a forest. Not just any forest, but the inner forest of your own soul. The trees rise like ancient guardians. Their leaves shimmer in the moonlight. The path is soft beneath your bare feet. The air is cool, clear, and filled with peace. You are alone here, but never lonely. Every branch you pass bows slightly, not because you are above them, but because they recognize you. They remember you. With each breath, the trees exhale with you. As you inhale, their branches rise. As you exhale, their leaves fall gently to the ground. You are not separate from this forest. You are the forest, breathing with the earth, breathing with the stars, breathing with the great rhythm of life. Let your breath fall into sync with nature. Slow, sacred, unforced. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Vik Nat Han. Repeat this to yourself now, silently if you'd like. Breathing in, I calm. Breathing out, I smile. Again, breathing in, I calm. Breathing out, I smile. Calms when you breathe through emotion. At some point, you may notice a feeling rising. Sadness, gratitude, loneliness, relief. Whatever it is, let it come. Don't label it. Don't chase it away. Breathe through it. Let your breath become the bridge, from mind to body, from pain to presence, from fear to peace. There is nothing you need to do with the feeling. Let it speak, if it must. Let it cry, if it will. Let it pass when it's ready. You are not the emotion. You are the sky it moves through, and you remain peaceful, vast, untouchable. Affirmations. The breath reminds me. Let these affirmations softly float around you now, like petals on a still pond. I return to the breath as my home. I do not need to fix my feelings, only to feel them. My breath teaches me how to be present. Every inhale is a beginning, every exhale a release. I am held in something deeper than thought. Repeat whichever one resonates. Let it echo inside you. Let it settle beneath your thoughts, into your body. A final return. As this chapter ends, you do not need to remember everything you heard. You do not need to keep your attention perfect. You do not need to do anything at all. Just breathe. Let the breath come and go. Come and go. It has carried you through everything. It will carry you through this too. And as you breathe, your body softens, your thoughts slow, your inner world opens. You have found a soft place to begin again, and it lives inside you, always. So rest here. Let the breath hold you. Let it remind you, you were never lost, only disconnected. And now, you are home. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, let us move forward deeper into story. The first Zen parable awaits. We begin with an old monk, a teacup, and a lesson about what must be emptied before anything can be truly received. Chapter 4. Story: The Empty Cup. You cannot fill a cup that is already full. You cannot receive wisdom when you are clinging to what you think you know. Long ago, in a quiet village nestled between the folds of misty mountains, there lived a wise Zen master. His temple was small, no more than a wooden hut wrapped in silence, with sliding doors that open to a garden where plum blossoms bloomed and koi moved like floating thoughts through a shallow pond. Each morning, the master swept the stones with care, not because they were dirty, but because the act itself was part of the teaching. He did not chase followers. He did not seek to be known. But those who were ready found him, as all true things are found in stillness. One day, a university professor travelled from the city to visit this master. He was a man of many titles. He had read hundreds of books. He had written many himself. He taught philosophy, ethics, even Eastern religions. He was, in his own eyes, a very important man. But there was something he could not teach himself. Something missing. A quiet ache buried beneath his knowledge. So he came to the mountains, to the temple, to the master. The professor bowed a bit too quickly and began speaking a bit too much. He praised the master's reputation, quoted Zen texts from memory, explained his understanding of Satori, of koans, of enlightenment. The master only nodded, kindly, quietly. Then he said, "Would you like some tea?" The professor agreed and sat upright, eager, perhaps expecting a ceremony, a ritual, a profound teaching hidden in a cup. The master brought out a simple teapot and 2 hand-thrown cups made of worn clay. No gold, no symbols, only presence. He began to pour, and pour, and pour. The tea rose to the brim, then spilled over, onto the table, onto the floor, onto the professor's robes. Startled, the professor jumped up. "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." The master smiled, as if this was the moment he had been waiting for. As if this was the entire lesson. You are like this cup, the Master said, so full of your own opinions and knowledge that nothing more can go in. If you wish to learn Zen, first, you must empty your cup. The room fell silent. Even the birds outside seemed to pause. The professor sat down again, this time slowly, this time listening, reflection, the cup within you. Dear listener, let us pause here too. Let us look not at the professor, but at ourselves, at the cup within us. How often do we come to peace, already full of what we think we know, full of stories, full of judgments, full of wounds we keep retelling, even in silence. We say we want to heal, but we arrive with conditions, with assumptions, with the need to be right, with the fear of being wrong, and the truth cannot enter a full cup. So tonight, we empty, not all at once, not with force, but slowly, softly, like the wind empties the branches in autumn, like the tide empties the shore before the moon pulls it back in. You do not have to pour yourself out completely, only enough to make space, enough to release what no longer nourishes you, enough to say, I do not know, I am ready to be shown, I am ready to receive. That is the doorway, that is the teaching. That is the reason Zen stories whisper instead of shout, because truth cannot be shouted into a full mind. It must fall gently into a quiet one. Sleep with an empty cup. Now, imagine your mind is a cup. Visualize it, resting at the center of your chest, not in your head, but in your heart. Notice how full it feels, heavy with thought, stained with old experiences, clouded by the residue of endless analysis. Now take a breath, and with the exhale, pour out a little. Again, breathe in gently. Exhale, and pour out a bit more. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the identity you're protecting. Let go of the question, but what if it doesn't work? You are not here to work. You are here to rest, to be, to soften, to sleep with an empty cup. And when you wake, life may fill it again. But tonight, you are free. To know is to forget. To forget is to understand. Zen saying, there is beauty in the unknowing. There is power in surrender. There is peace in simply being an empty vessel, open to receive whatever truth comes in silence. So let us stay here for just a little longer. Let go. Breathe. Soften. Empty. You are safe to release. You are safe to not know. You are safe to simply rest. The next chapter will explore what happens when we release expectations, the second root of suffering. But for now, your only task is this. Be still. Be open. Be here. Chapter 5. Reflection, releasing expectations. Peace begins when you stop demanding the moment to be anything other than what it is. There's a quiet kind of suffering that doesn't scream. It doesn't come from wounds or betrayal. It doesn't even come from the past. It comes from the gap between what is and what we thought it would be. That space between expectation and reality, that aching, invisible stretch where peace disappears. It happens silently when we expect someone to love us a certain way and they don't, when we imagine success would feel like certainty and it doesn't, when we thought we'd be farther along, happier by now, stronger, wiser, more healed. But we're not. And in that quiet disappointment, the mind begins to murmur. This isn't how it was supposed to be. Want the weight of should. We carry so many invisible expectations. They should have understood me. I should have been stronger. Life should be fair. This should have worked out by now. And each should becomes a stone in the backpack of the soul. Zen teaches us something different, something radical, something simple. There is no should. There is only what is. And what is already here. Imagery. The tree that let go. Imagine you are standing in a forest again. But now it is autumn. The trees are letting go. Not out of sadness, but because letting go is nature's way. No leaf clings. No branch resists. The wind moves through them, and they yield gracefully. There is no inner conflict in the tree, no shame in its surrender, no disappointment in its release. The tree does not say, "This shouldn't be happening." It simply bows and lets the leaves fall. Can you do the same tonight? Can you gently, lovingly release the way you thought life would be? Ute releasing the ghosts of what could have been. So much of our tension comes from wrestling with a ghost, the ghost of what could have been. But that version of life only exists in the mind, not in the body, not in this breath, not in the soft rhythm of the present moment. And here's the truth. What happened, happened. Not because you were weak, not because life is cruel, but because reality unfolds without asking for our permission. The practice is not to reshape the past, but to loosen your grip around it. To say softly, "I release you now." Breath practice. Exhale the expectation. Let us breathe now. Inhale and notice what you're holding. Exhale and allow the weight to slide off. Again, inhale the awareness. Exhale the demand. Once more, inhale gently. Exhale slowly. If it helps, whisper silently, "I let go of what I thought this should be." And again, "I let go of what I thought this should be." Let each repetition be a key, unlocking the tension of attachment. You don't have to erase the dream. You only need to let it live in peace, instead of using it to judge what is. A teaching from the Buddha. The Buddha once said, "You only lose what you cling to." Expectations are a form of clinging, not to the present, but to a version of it we imagined. And the more tightly we hold, the more pain we feel when life doesn't match the picture. But tonight, you are safe to open your hands. You are safe to release the image, to soften the grip, to allow what is to be enough. Not forever, not as a life philosophy, just for this moment, just for tonight. What happens when we let go? Something miraculous begins to happen. When we stop expecting the moment to perform for us, we begin to see what's already here. Not perfect, not polished, but real, alive, sacred. Maybe the love didn't look the way you imagined, but it was real while it lasted. Maybe the career didn't go the way you planned, but your growth was never wasted. Maybe the healing didn't arrive on your timeline, but something inside you kept breathing, kept hoping, kept showing up. And that is its own kind of triumph. Affirmations. From expectation to acceptance. Let these soft affirmations ripple through you now, as you breathe and drift. I release my expectations of how it was supposed to be. I am open to what this moment is offering. I allow life to unfold without needing to control it. I forgive myself for the stories I created. This moment is enough because I am present in it. Say them slowly, or not at all. Let them soak into your being like warm rain on dry soil. A final thought before sleep. Zen does not promise a perfect life. It only promises peace with life as it is. That peace begins when we stop fighting what has already happened, when we stop wishing the river flowed differently, and instead we sit by it, listen to it, learn from it, and trust that the current is wiser than our plans. You were not meant to carry so many expectations. You were meant to float, to breathe, to love what is, even when it's not what you hoped for. And tonight, as you sleep, you are already floating back home to yourself. You have emptied your cup. You have released the image. You have stepped out of the story and into the silence beneath it. Sleep peacefully now. You do not have to hold the plan anymore. Let it drift into the night. Let it go. Something better than the plan is unfolding, and it begins with rest. Chapter 6. Story. The moon cannot be stolen. When you have nothing, no one can take anything from you. And in that emptiness, you become full. Far away in a quiet forest, beneath a sky that always knew how to listen, lived a humble Zen master. He was not known for grand teachings. He didn't wear fine robes. His temple was nothing more than a small wooden hut nestled between the trees, a place where the wind could pass through the walls and silence could sleep beside him each night. He lived simply, chopped wood, boiled water, tended his garden, and every evening he would sit by the window and watch the moon. To the villagers nearby, he was strange, but to those who had truly suffered, who had lost things they could never get back, he was sacred. One night, a thief crept through the trees, desperate, hungry, bitter from a life that never gave him what he thought he deserved. He had heard of the Zen master. He believed that surely even a monk must own something worth stealing. A hidden pouch of coins, a relic, anything. He pushed open the door to the hut, but found it empty. No gold, no belongings, no resistance. Only the master, seated on the floor, bathed in moonlight. The thief froze. The master did not. He looked at the man with kindness, not fear, and said softly, "You have come a long way to visit me, and you should not return empty-handed." The master removed the simple robe from his shoulders, folded it gently, and offered it with both hands. "Take this," he said. "It's all I have." The thief, confused but eager, snatched the robe and vanished into the woods. The door remained open behind him. The wind passed through, and the master sat once more. He turned his face to the sky and whispered to the moon, "Poor man, if only I could give him the moon." And he smiled. Stillness after the story. Let that settle for a moment. Let the wind inside that story pass through you. You see, the thief came to take something, but the master had already given everything away. He had no attachments, no clinging, no fear of loss. And because of that, he had everything. He had peace, and peace cannot be stolen. What we truly own. Now ask yourself softly, without judgment, what are you still clinging to? A past that no longer fits? A title? A A version of yourself from years ago? A love that once held you, but now holds you back? Zen does not ask you to abandon your life. It only asks this: can you be free, even as life changes? Can you hold loosely what you once gripped tightly? Imagine again, you are the monk, sitting in your quiet hut. No walls but the wind, no roof but the sky, no company but the moonlight, and someone comes to take what you have. But what if in that moment you give it willingly, not out of weakness, but because you no longer fear losing what was never truly yours to keep? That is freedom. That is the untouchable peace. The world cannot shake from your hands. Visualization. You under the moon. Picture yourself now, in that forest. You are seated beneath a tall pine. The air is cool. Your shoulders are warm, and the full moon hangs above you, watching, glowing, whispering. It does not speak in words, but it speaks in light. Soft light, ancient light. You realize something here, under this moon. No one can steal the calm inside you. No one can rob the love you give freely. No one can take your presence unless you leave it behind. You feel lighter, not because nothing matters, but because you finally stopped gripping the things that were never meant to stay. A teaching from the wind. The master knew. The robe was just cloth, the moon just light. But to the one who is empty of desire, these are more than symbols. They are freedom. Zen is not about owning less. It is about being owned by less. So tonight, as you lie in bed, imagine all the things you've been holding: titles, identities, expectations, fears, like robes on your shoulders. Feel their weight, and then imagine offering them to the wind, one by one. Here, you whisper, take it. I no longer need it to be whole. Let the robe fall. Let the mind quiet. Let the moonlight touch your chest. You are still here, still enough, still free. Affirmations. Nothing can be taken from me. As your breath softens, let these words sink into your inner world. I am not afraid of loss. What is mine cannot be stolen, because I am not what I own. I give freely, and in that I am full. The moon cannot be stolen, neither can my peace. I release what was never mine to keep. Repeat any of these slowly, until they become part of the rhythm of your rest. The freedom of empty hands. In life, many things will leave. People, plans, comforts, certainties. But if your hands are open, not clenched, you will not suffer their passing. Because what is truly yours, what is eternal, cannot be stolen. Not by the world, not by time, not even by forgetting. You are not your robe. You are not what they took. You are the one still seated in stillness, smiling at the moon. And in that smile, you are untouchable. Let go now. Release the robes. Sleep beneath the sky. Nothing can be taken from you. When you hold on to nothing but this breath, this presence, this peace, sleep, master of your own stillness. Sleep with the moon as your witness. Enlightenment is the thief realizing there was never anything to steal. Chapter 7. Reflection. What cannot be taken from you? When all else is gone, what remains? That is who you truly are. There is something strange about loss. It feels like something being taken from us, like an invisible hand reaching in and removing what we love, what we worked for, what we thought we needed to be okay. And so we grip harder, cling tighter, lock the doors to the heart, and hide the most precious parts of us. But Zen teaches us something softer, not a fight, not a war. A question. What can never be taken from you? Let that question float gently over your breath as you settle into stillness tonight. What can never be stolen, never lost, never broken by anyone, not even yourself? Beyond the outer world, you may lose the house, the job, the title, the friend, the plan, the body you once knew, the story you told yourself. All of these are fragile, shaped by time, changed by seasons, moved by winds you cannot control. But within you, beneath the name and the noise, is something untouched. A presence, a pulse, a center that does not break, no matter how many times the surface cracks. That is what cannot be taken from you. And tonight, as you sleep, we return to that place. Visualization, the center that remains. Close your eyes now, fully. Let your hands rest beside you. Let the room blur into soft silence. Imagine this. You are standing in a wide open field. There are pieces of your life scattered around you. Pictures, memories, moments. You see faces you once knew. Achievements you were proud of. Mistakes that once haunted you. Dreams that rose, and dreams that quietly dissolved. The wind begins to rise. Soft at first, then stronger. It picks up the pieces, one by one, lifting them into the sky. But you remain. The wind does not touch you, only what you thought defined you. You stand quietly, bare, still, and you realize you are still here, peacefully untouched. Still you, a Zen whisper. The world can take many things, but it cannot take your capacity to love. It cannot take your ability to begin again. It cannot take your breath unless you give up breathing. And it cannot take the stillness at your core unless you forget it was there. You cannot lose what you never truly owned, and you cannot lose who you truly are. Contrae, the illusion of control. We suffer not because we lose things. We suffer because we believe. Those things were what made us whole. But you were whole before they came, and you are whole after they leave. A Zen master once said, "Freedom is not the absence of pain. It is the absence of need." What do you need to be okay? What have you convinced yourself is essential? And what if the deepest truth is that nothing is? You are not a beggar in this universe. You are not lacking. You are not missing anything. The silence inside you is not empty. It is full. When everything falls away, sometimes life strips everything down until all we have left is our breath. And even then, somehow, that is enough. Because in that moment, we begin to see what we couldn't see before. That the peace we chased was never out there. That the love we sought was always seeded within us. That the approval we begged for was something we could give ourselves. Nothing can be taken from you if you no longer identify with what is taken. Reflection. Who are you without the layers? Ask yourself gently, not to judge, but to awaken. Who am I? Without the roles I play, without the memories I carry, without the expectations I wear like armor, who am I? When I am not being watched, when I stop performing, when I let the silence speak, in that stillness, you may hear a whisper, I am, not I am this, not I am that, just I am, and that is more than enough. Huge breath practice, reclaiming what is eternal. Breathe with me now. Let this breath be a return, not to a version of you, but to what has always been behind the versions. Inhale, softly, like moonlight. Exhale, like the tide retreating without resistance. Again, inhale into your chest, your center. Exhale, let go of everything but being. If you like, repeat softly. I am not what I lost. I am not what they see. I am the awareness beneath it all. Let the body hear those words. Let the soul remember. Affirmations. What can never be taken? Let these phrases rise and fall like the breath. I am not defined by what has left me. I carry peace no one can steal. What I am cannot be broken. Even when everything is gone, I remain. I am the sky, not the weather. Each affirmation is a thread weaving you back to the core, the still place, the real you, a final stillness. You don't need to understand this all tonight. You don't need to memorize these words. You don't even need to agree. You only need to feel it. That somewhere beneath the grief, beneath the stories, beneath the dreams and failures and joys, something has not moved. It is the part of you that cannot be named, the part that existed before you were told who you were, the part that is not trying to become anything because it already is. Call it the soul, call it consciousness, call it Buddha nature, call it simply I. Whatever you call it, it is yours, and it is untouched. Sleep now, knowing this. There is a place in you no one can reach but you. And tonight, you have returned to it. Stay there, float there, breathe there. It is home, and you are safe. The wave realizes it is the ocean. Chapter 8, Story, The Farmer's Luck. Maybe yes, maybe no. The wisdom of peace is learning to wait. Once upon a time, in a quiet village, woven between the folds of green hills, lived a farmer. He was an ordinary man. He did not speak much. He did not chase riches. He woke with the sun, tended to his single horse, and worked the land with gentle hands. His neighbours didn't quite understand him. He didn't get excited like they did. He didn't complain when things went wrong. He had a quiet smile, like someone who knew something others didn't. But no one knew what that was. One day, his only horse ran away. The villagers rushed to his home. They cried out, "Oh no, how unlucky you are. Now you cannot plough your fields. Now you cannot travel. What will you do?" The farmer looked at the empty stable, then turned to his neighbours and simply said, "Maybe yes, maybe no." They were puzzled. What did he mean? It was clearly bad luck. The facts spoke for themselves, but the farmer only smiled and returned to his work. A few days later, the runaway horse returned, but he was not alone. He brought with him 3 wild horses, strong, young, beautiful creatures from the mountains. The villagers returned, amazed. "How lucky you are," they said. "Now you are rich with horses. You can sell them, race them, work them. Surely this is a blessing." Again, the farmer nodded, looked at the 4 horses, and said softly, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next week, his only son, a gentle boy, began training one of the wild horses. But the horse was not yet tamed. It threw the boy off its back. He landed hard and broke his leg. The village mourned with the farmer. "This is terrible," they said. "Who will help you with the harvest? Your poor son so young, so strong now crippled. This is surely the worst misfortune." But the farmer only sat beside his son, held his hand, and said the same words, "Maybe yes, maybe no." Not long after, soldiers arrived in the village. The nation had gone to war. Every able-bodied young man was drafted. They took sons from every home except one. The farmer's boy, with his broken leg, was spared. The villagers wept as their sons marched away. They came to the farmer again, this time in awe. "You were right," they said. "Your misfortune saved your son. How lucky you are." The farmer looked into the horizon, the sun setting over the hills, and spoke one last time. "Maybe yes, maybe no. Let the story breathe. Now, rest with this story in your heart. Let it slow your thoughts. Let it ripple through your memory. This is the wisdom of the way, of Zen, of Tao, of life as it is, without labels, without rushing to decide what something means. How many times in your life did you think something was a disaster, only to find that it led you somewhere better? How many times did joy turn to pain because you clung to it too tightly? How many times have you rushed to name something as good or bad when maybe it was neither? Maybe it was just life. The danger of deciding too soon. We suffer because we rush to conclusions. We want answers, certainty, control. But Zen invites us to pause, to let life unfold, to say, like the farmer, maybe yes, maybe no. Not because we don't care, but because we trust. We surrender. We let go of needing the story to be finished. Before we rest, you don't need to know where this chapter of your life is going. You don't need to understand why something happened. You don't need to label this moment as good or bad. You only need to be here, fully, gently, with your breath. Visualization, standing in the field. Imagine now, you are standing in the farmer's field. It is dusk. The sky is violet and gold. The breeze is soft. You hear the rustle of tall grass. You see the horses grazing slowly. The farmer is there, beside you, silent, content, not worried, not waiting. He looks at you, not to give advice, but to remind you, you don't have to name this moment. You don't have to declare what it means. You don't have to predict the ending. You can just breathe. You can just be. You can let it all unfold. You are allowed to rest in the middle of the story. Affirmations. I don't have to know. Let these words settle into you. No need to repeat them unless they feel like home. I release the need to control the outcome. I allow life to unfold without rushing to label it. Even when I don't know what it means, I trust the path. I don't need to finish the story tonight. Maybe yes, maybe no. I will breathe anyway. Each breath is a pause. Each exhale is a surrender. Each moment is allowed to be what it is. No judgment, no labels, just peace. The deeper message. The farmer did not live in denial. He felt pain. He saw change. He lost things too. But he chose not to cling to meaning. He knew something most of us forget. Peace does not come from what happens. It comes from how we meet what happens. And tonight, you are learning to meet life differently. You are learning to trust that not everything needs to be explained. Before you sleep, some things can be left open. some things don't need closure. Some things just need time. So sleep with that truth. Sleep without needing to know. Rest your mind like a field, wide, quiet, ready for whatever comes next. When the mind stops deciding, the heart begins to listen. Chapter 9. Reflection. Beyond good and bad. When we stop judging each moment, we begin to taste the silence that was always waiting. The story of the farmer doesn't end, because life doesn't end. Not in meaning, not in change, not in movement. Moments keep unfolding, sometimes sweet, sometimes sharp, but never as simple as we want them to be. The truth is, most of what we call good or bad is just the beginning of a much longer story. A flower blooming can seem like a gift until it wilts. A loss can feel like an ending until it opens something within you that you never knew was there. We think we know what things mean, but Zen shows us we don't. Not fully, not yet, and maybe never. The trap of duality. Our minds love opposites. Good versus bad. Right versus wrong. Success versus failure. Worthy versus unworthy. It helps us feel safe. It helps us sort the chaos. It gives us something to hold on to. But the more we cling to this split, the more we suffer when life doesn't fit neatly into a category. Sometimes what seems good ends up hurting you. Sometimes what seems bad ends up saving you. And sometimes it just is. Neither. Both. A mystery. Guj. The Zen way. Zen doesn't try to explain everything. It doesn't need to. It teaches us to see without labeling, to feel without defining, to be with without needing to fix. A famous Zen saying goes, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences." It doesn't mean you shouldn't care. It means you don't have to suffer because something didn't go your way. You can let go of the argument with life, and in that surrender, you find peace. What if nothing was good or bad? Ask yourself gently, what if I didn't rush to decide what this moment means? What if I didn't have to label my thoughts as good or bad? What if this emotion is just energy? What if this delay is not a punishment, but protection? What if this silence is not rejection, but redirection? The moment you stop declaring judgment, you begin to listen. Not with the mind, but with your deeper self. You begin to hear the truth behind the noise, that life is not trying to hurt you, it's trying to move you, and it can only do that when you stop resisting. Visualization, walking between the two mountains. Close your eyes if they aren't closed already. Let this image rise slowly within you. You are walking between two mountains. One is called good, the other is called bad. Each time you step toward one, the path begins to shake. The ground becomes unstable. Your footing becomes unsure. But then, you stop trying to climb either one. You simply walk between them, right in the middle. The wind here is soft. The earth is calm. The sun shines equally on both sides. You are no longer pulled by either extreme. You walk in the middle way. You walk in peace. Each breath practice. Exhale the judgment. Let's breathe now. Inhale gently into your body. Exhale and release your opinions. Again, inhale without labels. Exhale without expectation. Repeat softly in your heart. I don't need to name this moment. I release the need to judge what I feel. This is not good. This is not bad. It just is. Let your nervous system hear that. Let your heart believe it. Let your mind pause. There is no rush to understand. You are free to not know. You are free to just breathe. What changes when you let go of judgment? When you stop deciding what each moment should be, something amazing happens. You begin to see things as they are, not through the lens of the past, not through the fear of the future, but through presence. You start to notice beauty where you didn't before. You start to feel space between your thoughts. You start to love people, not for what they give you, but for who they are in this breath now. And, most importantly, you begin to accept yourself, not because you're perfect, but because you finally stopped measuring. Affirmations. I live beyond the labels. Let these affirmations rise gently like morning mist. I allow this moment to be what it is. I no longer need to label my life. My peace is deeper than my preferences. Everything can be a teacher, even this. I walk in the middle and I am free. Each phrase is a drop of stillness. Each breath is a return. You are not here to fix this moment. You are here to meet it as it is. The silence beneath the noise. When all the words are gone, when you are too tired to keep defining your life, there is something left. It is the silence beneath your thoughts. It is the space that doesn't care if you succeeded or failed. It is the still presence that was never afraid. It is the breath beneath all labels. And tonight, you are returning to that. You are not doing Zen. You are remembering Zen. You are remembering the part of you that always knew how to rest in the middle. No judgment. No conclusion. Just breath. Just being. Just now. Beyond good and bad, there is a field. I will meet you there. Rumi, sleep in that field now. Let the stories fall away. Let the noise rest. Nothing is required of you. Not even understanding. You are already enough. Even if this moment feels unclear. Even if this night holds questions. Even if this breath carries grief. It is not bad. It is not good. It just is. And so are you. Chapter 10. Story Carrying the Woman. The heaviest burdens are not on our backs, but in our minds. Two monks once walked together in silence. They had been walking for many hours, barefoot, through forests and open fields, following a dusty road that led toward the mountains. One was older, his head fully shaved, his face worn like weathered stone, his hands calloused from years of sweeping temple grounds. The other was young, still new to the path, still learning to quiet the inner voice that always wanted to explain everything. They wore the same simple robes, a sash, a satchel, nothing more. What they carried was not heavy, at least not on the outside. As they approached a small village, clouds rolled in. Rain began to fall soft, but persistent. Soon, the road turned to mud, and just ahead, at the edge of a narrow stream, they saw a woman. She wore fine silk robes. She stood in frustration, her sandals sinking in the earth, her hands clenched at her sides. She could not cross without ruining her garments. She looked up as the monks approached and said sharply, "You there, help me." The younger monk froze. Their order had strict rules. They were not to touch women, not to even speak unless spoken to with respect. He looked to the elder for guidance. Without a word, the older monk stepped forward. He bent his knees, lifted the woman in his arms, as if she weighed nothing, and carried her gently across the stream. He placed her down on the other side. She did not thank him. She did not look back. She simply adjusted her dress and walked away. The monks continued on, one step at a time, one breath at a time. But after an hour, the young monk could no longer keep silent. He burst out, "Master, we are not supposed to touch women. Why did you do that?" The old monk kept walking, his steps steady, his breath calm. And then, with quiet eyes, he said, "I put her down an hour ago. Why are you still carrying her? Let the teaching settle. Let that story breathe inside you. Don't rush to analyze it. Don't try to decode it like a puzzle. Just sit with it. Let its silence be the answer." You see, the burden was never the act. It was the memory, the judgment, the story the younger monk kept replaying in his mind. How often do we do the same? The burdens we keep carrying. Maybe you're lying in bed right now, and your body is still, but your mind is still carrying something. A comment, a look, a disappointment, an old decision, a person who left without closure. They're not here anymore. But in your mind, they still speak, still pull on your emotions, still walk beside you on the road of thought. And you keep carrying them, even when your hands are empty. Zen asks you gently, what would happen if you simply put them down? Letting go isn't forgetting. To put something down doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you approve. It simply means you choose peace over prolonged pain. You stop holding the moment like a stone in your chest. You don't forget, but you no longer let it shape who you are. And in that soft surrender, you become free. Visualization, the river stone. Close your eyes now and imagine you are standing beside a river. You've been carrying a stone in your hand. It's small but heavy, and over time, your fingers have curled around it so tightly, you forgot you were holding it. Now look at it. It may be something someone said, something you regret, something unresolved. See it clearly, not to judge, just to recognize. Now, extend your arm, let the river speak, and release the stone, not forcefully. Just open your hand, let the current take it. Let the water carry it, farther than your memory can reach. And breathe. You are lighter now, because you remembered. You were never meant to carry everything. Breath practice. Exhale the burden. Breathe in. Feel the space the burden occupied. Breathe out and let it loosen. Again, inhale into the chest, into the ribs. Exhale and soften the mind. One more. Inhale, feeling the presence of this moment. Exhale, releasing everything that came before it. If it helps, whisper, I no longer need to carry this. I forgive myself for holding on too long. Peace is heavier. When my hands are full, I choose to release. Affirmations. I put it down. Let these affirmations become soft echoes in your mind. I release the moment that no longer serves me. I am not what happened. I am what I choose to carry. I put it down, not to forget, but to heal. My freedom begins when I let go. Tonight, I sleep without the weight. Feel them, not in your mind, but in your breath, in the space between thoughts, in the calm that follows truth. You were never meant to hold it forever. The older monk was not disturbed, because he moved with presence, because he responded and then released, because he let the moment end when it ended. And so can you. You don't need to rewrite the past tonight. You don't need to fix the wound in one sitting. You only need to set it down. For now, like placing a bag beside the bed. You can pick it up again tomorrow, if you still want to. But for tonight, let your spirit rest in the soft hands of non-attachment. The one who carries nothing walks freely. Sleep gently, with empty hands, and a light heart. You have walked far. You have carried enough. Tonight, you put it down, and in doing so, you return to peace. Chapter 11. Reflection, letting go of the past. You are not what happened to you. You are who you choose to be now. Some nights, the past feels louder than the present. A small moment, a sentence, a name, a silence that stretched too long, a goodbye that never felt complete. And even though it's over, your body still holds it. Your breath still shortens when you remember. Your heart still reacts, as if it's happening again. Zen does not rush this. It does not say, just move on. It sits beside you, quietly, until you are ready to release. Not forcefully, but naturally, like leaves falling when the season has changed. The past is a shadow, not a chain. You are not your mistakes. You are not your regrets. You are not the version of yourself who didn't know what you know now. But still, you carry echoes, and that's okay. Healing does not begin with erasing. It begins with noticing. And so we ask, what are you still carrying? From a time you've already lived through, a mistake, a guilt, a what if, a wound so old it no longer has a name, only a feeling. Let us not fight it. Let us sit with it, like the master who carried the woman, not in his arms, but in his thoughts. We often carry the past in silence, but tonight we begin to set it down. Visualization, the room of old moments. Close your eyes and imagine you are walking down a hallway. Each step is light, barefoot, quiet. You come to a door. It's simple, old, familiar. You open it. Inside, the air is thick with memory. You see shelves, boxes, stacks of papers with old versions of you written on them. Moments frozen in time. Some beautiful, some painful, some you forgot you still carried. And you, the present you, walk through this room gently. Not to destroy, not to shame, just to see. You kneel beside one box. You open it. It's heavy, not because of what's inside, but because of how long it's been unopened. You take out one thing, just one, and you whisper to it, "Thank you. I've carried you long enough. You may go now." You place it by the open window, and the wind carries it away. You are lighter now. Breath practice. Inhale the present, exhale the past. Let's breathe together. Inhale gently. Let the breath fill your belly. Exhale as if letting an old memory float away. Again, inhale not to hold on, but to return. Exhale and release what no longer belongs. Once more. Inhale. Exhale. You do not need to fix the past. You only need to stop living in it. The gift of what hurt you, even your most painful moments, taught you something. Even your darkest seasons shaped your roots. You don't have to love the pain, but you can honor the growth You can say, I survived this. I learned from this. I don't need to carry this anymore. Zen doesn't ask you to erase the past. It asks you to stop repeating it. And tonight, that begins with choosing presence. Affirmations. I am free to let go. Let these affirmations wash over you. Like moonlight on still water. The past is not who I am. I give myself permission to be new. I can remember without reliving. I am not trapped in a moment that has passed. Tonight, I rest in who I am, not who I was. Feel the truth of them, not as ideas, but as warm air moving through your chest. Feel the soft release. Feel the permission, the power to begin again. Right now, you are lying down, but spiritually, you are standing in front of a new door, and this door does not care who you were before. It only cares about your willingness to walk through it, to be gentle with yourself, to release old timelines, to say, I don't need to wait for someone to forgive me. I forgive myself. You are free to begin again, and again, and again, as many times as you need. No snowflake ever falls in the wrong place. Zen proverb, you are not late. You are not behind. You are not stuck in the past. You are here, and the past can't find you here unless you bring it with you. So leave it by the door tonight. Leave it outside the temple of your rest. Let it melt like snow in spring. Let it go. Sleep softly now. You've carried enough. You've remembered enough. You've done enough. Tonight, you are free. The past has no power here. Chapter 12. Story. Obedient Zen Master. When you obey every rule, you might forget who you are. But when you find silence within, you remember what no one can teach. In a quiet temple nestled between the folds of distant hills, there lived a Zen monk. He was known for one thing above all others, his obedience. He followed every rule. He bowed at every bell. He spoke only when spoken to. He wore his robe precisely. He moved like water in a bowl, careful not to spill, not to ripple. When the master walked into the meditation hall, this monk was always already seated, his eyes lowered, his breath silent, his posture like stone, and though he had not yet awakened, he was admired, respected, even envied. One day, a new student arrived, a younger monk, full of questions, full of wonder, and a little bit of doubt. He watched the obedient monk day after day, his perfection, his silence, his stillness that seemed untouched by struggle. But something about it didn't sit right. It looked too clean, too rigid, too afraid to break. The younger monk asked the master, why is he not enlightened? He follows everything. He never speaks out of turn. He never steps outside the lines. The master looked out the window, watching a bird land on the branch of a pear tree, and said, because he is still obeying the rules, and not yet listening to the wind. Ought, what does that mean? That sentence echoed through the temple for days. He is still obeying the rules, and not yet listening to the wind. It puzzled the younger monk, and it puzzled the listeners now, but let us sit with it slowly. You see, the obedient monk had done everything right, but in doing so, he had forgotten how to listen to the soundless voice of his own soul. He had mastered discipline, but not freedom. He had silenced his mind, but forgotten to awaken his heart. He had followed the rules, but had not yet discovered what the rules were pointing toward. Inner stillness, inner truth, inner knowing, when the rules become a cage. Obedience has its place. Structure is not the enemy. Rituals, forms, schedules, these can guide us, but only if we remember. They are not the destination. They are the path. A student who only memorizes, but never questions, remains a student forever. A person who only follows, but never listens inwardly, loses their own compass. Zen does not want you to become a copy of someone else. Zen wants you to disappear, so that your true self can be seen in silence. Visualization, sitting beneath the rulebook. Close your eyes now, and imagine you are sitting in a small wooden room. Before you is a heavy book. Its cover is worn. Its pages are filled with teachings, commandments, lessons. You've followed them all. You've checked every box, but something inside still feels far away. Now imagine you close the book, place it gently on the floor, and listen, not to the pages, not to your teacher, not even to this voice, but to your breath, to the air, to the wind outside the walls of what you were told. You begin to hear something deeper, not a rule, but a rhythm, not an instruction, but a truth. And it does not come from the book, it comes from within. Breath practice, listening to the wind. Let's practice now. Inhale softly, exhale even softer. Again, inhale into the quiet, exhale into the unknown. Let your breath guide you to what cannot be written in any text. Repeat inwardly, I am listening, not to the rules, but to the truth behind them, not to fear, but to stillness. You are no longer seeking to be perfect. You are seeking to be present. Affirmations, I am more than obedience. Let these phrases fall into your heart like rain on stone. I follow what is true, not just what is told. I listen to the wind inside me. I am not here to perform peace. I am here to live it. My stillness is not stiffness, it is openness. I trust my own silence. You are no longer afraid to make a sound. You are no longer confined by the appearance of virtue. You are free to be real. The Master's true lesson. The Master was not dismissing obedience. He was showing that awakening does not come through blind repetition. It comes through embodied presence. It comes when the rituals dissolve, and what remains is breath and honesty and stillness that is no longer afraid to bend. The rules were never the point. You were. Your awakening, your direct experience, your freedom, and tonight you are closer to it than you think. Not because you followed every step, but because you're willing to feel what the silence is really saying. Do not mistake the finger pointing at the moon for the moon itself. You are not here to become someone else's idea of enlightenment. You are here to remember who you were before anyone told you who to be. So sleep gently, not perfectly, not obediently, just honestly. Let go of the need to be the good one, the flawless one, the disciplined one, and instead be the present one, the breathing one, the listening one. That is enough. Chapter 13. Reflection, listening beyond rules. Before there were rules, there was truth. Before there were teachers, there was silence. Somewhere deep inside you is a knowing, not loud, not urgent, not made of words. It doesn't argue. It doesn't beg to be heard. It simply is. But most of us lose contact with that voice. Because life gets noisy, because systems tell us who to be, because we were trained to obey, before we were ever taught to listen. And so, we become silent on the outside, but deaf on the inside. The trap of rule-based living. We're taught that if we just follow the right steps, the right rules, the right books, the right path, we'll be safe, we'll be enlightened, we'll be free. But Zen asks a question. What if freedom doesn't come from following the map, but from realizing the map was never needed? What if the path to truth is not about memorizing, but about remembering, not outward compliance, but inward clarity? The rules were meant to be outgrown. Think of a tree. When it begins to grow, we place a bamboo frame beside it, a support, a guide, a way to shape its early path. But what happens when the tree matures? It no longer needs the frame. If we keep it too long, the tree cannot stretch. It becomes twisted. It loses its nature. So too with us. Rules are the bamboo. They shape us, protect us, but they are not the destination. Eventually, we must grow beyond them, not in rebellion, but in realization, visualization, the inner temple, without walls. Close your eyes. Let your breath become calm. Let your body soften. Imagine now, you are entering a temple, but there are no walls, no signs, no robes, no incense, no statues, just space, just air, just stillness. And in that stillness, a sound begins, not with your ears, but in your chest, like a hum, like a breeze, like a truth you forgot you knew. You realize this is the real temple, not the one built by others, but the one that has always been waiting inside you. You kneel, not to worship, but to listen. Breath practice, tuning into the inner teacher. Let us breathe now. Inhale softly into your body. Exhale, letting go of everything you were taught. Again, inhale into the space where silence lives. Exhale, releasing the need to be right. And one more time, inhale into your truth. Exhale into freedom. Repeat inwardly, I listen to what lives beneath the rules. I trust what I hear in stillness. The deepest wisdom has no name. Beyond external authority, there comes a moment on every spiritual path where the student must stop asking the teacher for permission, not because the teacher is wrong, but because the real teacher has awakened within, and that teacher speaks quietly, not in commandments, but in intuition, not in formulas, but in feeling. It whispers, this is your path now. Walk it your way, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Affirmations. I trust what I hear inside. Let these affirmations pour gently through your awareness. I honor the teachings, and I listen beyond them. I trust the wisdom that arises in silence. I don't need permission to be free. My path may be different, and that's sacred. I listen inwardly, and I move gently. You are no longer afraid to be your own sanctuary. You are no longer waiting for the next rule to guide you. You are already guided. When you stop asking for instructions, something magical happens. When you stop needing instructions for every step, you begin to walk differently. You begin to feel your own rhythm. You stop fearing wrong. You stop chasing right. You begin to ask, what feels aligned? What brings peace without explanation? What whispers yes without shouting? This is the middle way, the quiet way, the soft rebellion that leads to stillness. A final invitation to listen. Right now, let go of the form. Let go of the method. Let go of what you think you're supposed to learn tonight. You don't need more rules. You need more quiet. So here it is. No more quotes. No more advice. No more teachings. Just breath. Just presence. Just you listening. What do you hear? What arises? Trust it. Truth is not in the sound of words, but in the silence between them. You are ready now to sleep as one who no longer needs to be told what to do. You are not lost. You are not late. You are simply returning to the wind inside you, and it has never led you astray. Sleep gently, not as a student tonight, but as your own master. Chapter 14, Story, the Laughing Buddha. Sometimes the greatest teacher does not speak in riddles, but in laughter. In a small town at the edge of the mountains, people once gathered to see a strange man. He was bald like a monk, but he wore no robe. He had no scrolls, no sacred chants, no followers trailing behind him in silence. Instead, he carried a cloth sack over one shoulder and a deep echoing laugh in his belly. He was not like the other spiritual men. He did not teach in temples. He did not sit in stillness all day. He walked the markets. He played with children. He ate sweets with no guilt. He gave away whatever was in his sack. Candies, toys, sometimes even money, and walked barefoot through the streets like a joyful wanderer. The people called him Ote. Others called him the Laughing Buddha. Some said he was a madman. Some said he was an enlightened master. Some said he was both. But one thing was certain. Wherever he went, laughter followed. What was in the sack? Every day, Hote would carry his bag. Children would run up to him and ask, "What's inside, Buddha?" He would sit down in the dirt with them, open the sack wide, and hand them whatever he had. Sometimes it was food, sometimes coins, sometimes shiny stones that meant nothing, but made the children smile. Then he'd throw the empty sack over his shoulder, let out a booming laugh, and wander off again. One day, a young monk approached him, serious, disciplined, a seeker of truth. He had heard rumours that this silly man, this laughing streetwalker, was in fact a living Buddha. And so he asked, bowing low, "Master, what is the meaning of Zen?" Hote stopped, turned slowly, smiled wider than the sky. He dropped his sack on the ground. With a thud, the monk blinked, confused. Then Hote picked the sack back up, tossed it over his shoulder, and walked away, laughing. That was the answer. Let the teaching rise. At first, it sounds like nonsense. What kind of answer is that? But sit with it longer. Let your mind soften. Let the meaning unfold like petals. Dropping the sack was letting go. Lifting it again was returning to the world with lightness. The sack represented all things. Possessions, burdens, ideas, identity. Hote was showing us, when you can drop everything and still smile when you pick it back up, you are free. Ute. Joy is not a distraction. Too often, we think joy is a lesser emotion. That laughter is shallow. That spirituality must always be quiet, serious, heavy. But what if laughter is closer to enlightenment than all our striving? What if joy is not the reward, but the path? Zen does not forbid joy. Zen is joy, without clinging. The laughing Buddha reminds us, you don't need to be solemn to be sacred. You don't need to suffer to be wise. You don't need to renounce life, to wake up within it. Visualization. Sitting with Hote. Close your eyes and imagine you're in a village square. The sun is warm. Children are laughing. You hear a deep chuckle behind you. You turn and see him. Hote. He's sitting cross-legged in the dirt, eyes wrinkled with joy. He pats the ground beside him. You sit. He says nothing, just opens the sack. Inside is not candy, not gold, but peace, acceptance, an invitation to stop trying so hard. You both sit and laugh, not because anything is funny, but because nothing needs to be fixed. This moment is whole. Got breath practice. Laugh without reason. Take a breath in. Deep, light, joyful. Exhale, like a gentle sigh of relief. Again, inhale, not to reach for anything. Exhale, letting the effort go. Repeat softly. I am allowed to feel joy. Laughter is sacred too. I don't need to be serious to be spiritual. Let the corners of your mouth rise. Just a little. Just enough to remind yourself that softness is part of the path. Affirmations. Joy is a spiritual practice. Let these words rise like bubbles from still water. I honor the teacher within me who laughs. My presence is enough, even when I smile. Joy is not escape, it is return. I can drop the weight and still return in peace. I walk the path lightly. Say them to yourself, or let them echo in the background of your soul. You are not failing. When you feel light, you are remembering what your spirit always knew, the meaning of the sack. We all carry something. Our burdens, our memories, our dreams, our identities. But the laughing Buddha teaches this. You can set it down, you can pick it back up, and you can keep walking without becoming the sack. You are not what you carry. You are the one who chooses when to carry and when to let go. And sometimes it's okay to laugh at it all. Not with mockery, but with grace. Enlightenment is when the load gets lighter, even when nothing changes. So sleep now, with a smile behind your breath, with no pressure to be profound, with no burden to figure everything out tonight. Let your sack rest beside your bed. Let your spirit be as light as Hote's footsteps. Let your dreams be filled, not just with silence, but with joy, because even the Buddha laughed, and so can you. Chapter 15, Reflection, Joy Without Reason. The deepest joy has no cause. It simply appears like the sunrise, needing no applause. There is a joy that doesn't wait for things to go right. A joy that isn't based on good news, a perfect moment, or a plan working out. It has no story, no explanation, no logic. It just rises, like laughter at a memory you forgot you loved, like sunlight pouring through the curtain when you didn't expect it, like a breeze on your skin that doesn't ask what kind of day you're having. This joy doesn't need a reason, and that's what makes it sacred. We're taught that joy must be earned. Since we were children, we were conditioned to believe, be good and you'll be happy. Work hard and you'll be rewarded. Solve the problem and peace will follow. But Zen teaches something softer. You don't have to earn your joy. You only need to remember it. It's not a trophy. It's not a prize. It's a natural state that got covered by years of effort. Good. Joy is the nature beneath the noise, beneath your stress, beneath the thoughts, beneath the roles you play for the world. There is a lightness, a quiet smile, a feeling that says, it's okay to be here. It's okay to feel good, even if nothing makes sense. But we often don't let ourselves feel that joy. We say, not yet, maybe later, once I figure things out, once they love me, once I fix everything, and we miss the breeze, the sunlight, the now, visualization, joy without a source. Close your eyes. Let this image rise slowly, like a dream. You're walking through a meadow. It's early morning. Dew glistens on every blade of grass. Birds are singing, not loudly, but playfully. You sit on a flat rock, not to meditate, not to heal, just to sit. There's nothing to solve, nothing to overcome, and yet you feel something rising, not excitement, not triumph, just joy, simple, soft, unattached to any outcome. It has no origin, it has no need. It's just here, because you are. Breath practice. Inhale joy for no reason. Let's breathe now lightly. Inhale, like drawing in golden air. Exhale, like releasing effort. Again, inhale, smile slightly. Exhale, soften. One more time. Inhale, feeling a flicker of light inside you. Exhale, letting it spread gently. Whisper softly to yourself, I allow joy to arise, even now. I don't need a reason to feel light. Joy is already within me. Let it stay, not as a burst, but as a calm hum beneath the breath. Let go of joy that depends on circumstances. So much of our happiness is conditional. If they respond, I'll feel seen. If this plan works, I'll be proud. If I heal, then I'll celebrate. But Zen whispers, what if you smiled now? What if you laughed before the reason arrived? What if peace came without needing permission? The mind may resist. It wants to understand. But the soul doesn't need understanding. It only needs to feel. Affirmations. I welcome joy without cause. Let these words enter you like sunlight through the window. Joy is not a reward. It is my right. Even when nothing is certain, I can feel peace. Joy is my natural state beneath the worry. I give myself permission to smile. I don't need a reason, joy simply is. Let them echo as you drift. Let them soften the space behind your chest. You are not forcing joy. You are returning to it, like a traveller who remembers where home is without needing a map. The most powerful joy is quiet. It's not always loud. It's not always visible. It doesn't always show up in celebration or success. Sometimes it's just the moment you realize you're okay. Or when you stop chasing something and notice what's already here. Or when your breath slows and you feel not happiness, but peace. And that peace is joy in its most sacred form. The true person of Zen walks in clouds of laughter. Zen saying, sleep now, not because everything is figured out, but because nothing needs to be. Sleep with a smile. You don't need to explain. Sleep with joy that doesn't ask for proof. Sleep like the laughing Buddha, whose sack was light because he carried no conditions for happiness. just presence, just love, just breath. You are safe to feel good, even now, especially now. Chapter 16. Story. The temple burns while the master sleeps. The one who is truly at peace does not fear the flames. The night was quiet, but the wind had begun to shift. Dry leaves stirred across the forest floor, like restless thoughts. The branches groaned softly in the dark. At the edge of the valley stood a temple, wooden, ancient, built long before anyone in the nearby village could remember. It had stood through storms, through seasons, through wars and silence and time. Inside that temple was a Zen master, sleeping. He was old, but not in body, in presence, in stillness. He had trained countless monks, yet was now mostly alone. He spent his days sweeping the courtyard, pouring tea, meditating by the garden, and watching the moon rise without needing anything from it. But tonight, something was different. Somewhere in the kitchen of the temple, a small flame had started. A lantern, a gust of wind, a forgotten cloth. No one knows exactly what caused it, but the fire grew, quietly at first, then faster. Smoke began to rise, and soon the wooden beams caught fire. The temple, sacred, serene, home to countless years of practice, was burning. Too dense, the students panic. A young monk, sleeping in another building nearby, smelled the smoke first. He rushed outside, his eyes wide, his breath sharp. "Fire! The temple!" he shouted. Others came running, buckets, shouting, water from the well, hands trembling, hearts pounding. One of them cried, "Where is the master?" They rushed to his quarters. They flung open the doors. Smoke swirled into the hallway, and there they found him, still lying on his mat, eyes closed, face peaceful, sleeping. "Master, the temple is burning," they cried. He opened one eye, looked at them, nodded, then closed it again, and said, "Then let it burn," and he went back to sleep. The meaning behind the fire. For days, the monks were confused. They rebuilt, they cleaned, they meditated, but they could not stop asking, how could he sleep through it? Wasn't he afraid? Didn't he care? But the master said nothing, and eventually, some began to understand. Stillness in the fire. This story is not about indifference. It is about mastery, about the rare peace that no longer reacts to every storm. The master had not stopped feeling. He had stopped fearing. He knew the temple is not the teachings. The body is not the self. The form is not the source. What burns is not what he was attached to. He had already let go, long ago. That is why he could sleep. What are you afraid to let burn? Now ask yourself gently, what structures have you clung to for safety? What identities have you built like temples? What relationships, titles, plans do you believe you cannot live without? And what if one of them was to fall apart? What if the temple of who you think you are was to catch fire? Would you panic, or would you whisper? Then let it burn, not as surrender to chaos, but as trust in what remains after everything is gone. Visualization, the flame of awakening. Close your eyes now and see yourself standing before a temple. It is yours, built over years, made of memories, achievements, beliefs, hopes, but something in you knows it cannot last. The wind shifts. A flame begins. It climbs the walls, and instead of running, you sit on the ground, cross-legged, calm. You watch it burn, not with fear, but with clarity. And as the final beam falls, you realize you are still here. You always were, and nothing essential has been lost. Root, breath practice. Exhale the fear of loss. Let's breathe now. Inhale into your center. Exhale and let go of what is no longer needed. Again, inhale, feeling the body grounded in presence. Exhale, softening into what is. Once more, inhale with courage. Exhale without clinging. Repeat inwardly, I am not what I built. I can lose everything and still be me. Let it burn, what remains is true. Affirmations, I am not afraid of the fire. Let these words become soft pillars within you. I trust what remains after the flames. I release my fear of endings. My stillness is stronger than destruction. What is real in me cannot be burned. The temple may fall, but I rise. You are not here to preserve the illusion. You are here to wake up within it. And waking up sometimes means letting go of what you thought was everything. True peace does not fear collapse. Most people live their lives trying to prevent the collapse, holding up broken walls, trying to keep everything in control, clinging to what no longer serves. But Zen shows us sometimes it must all fall, so that truth can be born. Sometimes the greatest awakening is not found in building, but in burning. And the peace that follows is not because you saved the temple, it's because you finally realized you were never the temple. You were the space it stood in, the silence that watched it rise and fall, the breath that stayed steady even as the fire danced. The master sleeps while the temple burns, because he has already awakened. Now, sleep with nothing left to protect, no role to play, no temple to hold up. Let the fire cleanse you, let the ashes fall, and in the stillness that remains, feel what cannot be taken, feel what is always here. You, breathing, peaceful, untouchable. Chapter 17. Reflection. What remains when you let go? When the fire has passed, when the burden is gone, what's left is not emptiness, it's truth. What happens when you finally let go? Not when you pretend to, not when you say the words out loud, but when something in you truly releases. The old dream, the tight identity, the silent grief, the fear that kept you gripping for control. You loosen your hold, and it drifts, like smoke, like breath, like something that was never yours to keep. And then there is silence, and maybe for a moment, that silence feels like nothing. But stay there, don't run. Something begins to rise, the fear of the after. So many of us avoid letting go, because we're afraid of what comes next. We think, if I let go of this relationship, what will be left? If I stop chasing this dream, who will I be? If I stop blaming them, what do I do with the pain? The mind fears the emptiness, the quiet, the not knowing, but Zen teaches, letting go is not the end. It's the beginning. Not a void, but a clearing. Not a loss, but a return. What remains is real. When the fire has burned what no longer serves, when the roles have fallen, when the old expectations have drifted away like ash, what's left is what cannot be taken. What's left is who you've always been beneath the noise. Still, quiet, whole, a presence, a breath, an inner knowing that was never broken, only buried. You realize you are not the job, not the plan, not the opinion, not the wound, not the timeline. You are the space those things moved through, and you're still here. Visualization, the ash and the light. Close your eyes now. Let yourself arrive at the edge of what used to be. In your mind, see the burned temple, still smouldering, still quiet. But now, the smoke has cleared. The sky is open. The earth is warm. You step forward, and there, in the center of the ash, something glows. A single light, not bright, not dramatic, but steady. You sit before it, and it does not ask for anything. It simply reminds you, this is what was always here. This is what remains. It is you, not as the story, but as the presence watching it all unfold. Breath practice. Let the light stay. Breathe in gently. Breathe out into stillness. Again, inhale into the light. Exhale without fear. Feel your body soften. Feel the old layers release. And if you like, repeat inwardly, I am still here. What I truly am cannot be lost. After letting go, I find myself again. You are not becoming something new. You are uncovering what never left. Affirmations, I am what remains. Let these words become the quiet voice beneath your breath. I let go of what I was not. I remain as truth, not as memory. Peace comes not from holding, but from releasing. I am not what I lost, I am what I found beneath it. There is something in me that always stays. Let each phrase echo in the silence of your chest. No need to hold on to them. They are not instructions. They are reminders. You already know. Got. Beyond time, beyond identity. When we let go of the stories we've repeated for years, we remember something older than time. Not who we've tried to become, but who we were before we began trying. A soft, eternal presence. No name, no goal, just now. You are that presence, and that is enough. When you no longer need to fill the space, letting go creates space, and sometimes that space feels uncomfortable. We want to fill it with something, anything, but what if the space itself was the medicine? What if that empty feeling wasn't emptiness, but room? Room for breath, room for rest, room for the self to be, without explanation. Let the space stay tonight. Let the silence bloom. Only when the cup is empty can it receive what it was made to hold. You've emptied a lot. Old thoughts, old habits, old versions of yourself that tried so hard to hold it all together. But now you've let go, and what remains is soft, still, true. It doesn't need a name. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need anyone's approval. It just is. And so are you. Sleep now, not as someone who lost something, but as someone who returned. Sleep as what remains. When the rest is released, you are still here, and that is the miracle. Chapter 18, Story, the sound of one hand clapping. Some questions are not meant to be answered, only live. It begins with a riddle. A monk approaches his master, seeking wisdom, seeking depth. He bows low and asks, "Master, how do I enter Zen?" The master does not answer directly. He does not quote scripture. He does not give advice. Instead, he lifts his hand into the air, fingers open, palm out, and says, "Listen to the sound of one hand clapping." The monk waits, confused, uncomfortable. He looks around. There is no sound, no clue, no logic. He claps his own hands together, twack. Surely that's the sound of two hands. But one hand? It makes no sound. Just air, just silence. He asks again, "Master, what does that mean?" But the master walks away. And so begins the monk's journey, not toward an answer, but into unknowing, the koan that cannot be solved. In Zen, a koan is a question. That logic cannot answer. A riddle designed to short-circuit the mind, to force you beyond thought, beyond reason, into direct experience. This koan, what is the sound of one hand clapping, is not a puzzle. It is a doorway. It doesn't ask you to figure it out. It asks you to stop trying. And in that space of surrender, something opens. What happens when you let go of the answer? The monk in the story spent days meditating, trying to imagine the sound, trying to force his mind to give it shape. He listened to wind, to birds, to silence, to his own heartbeat, and still the answer would not come, until one day, after exhaustion and stillness and release, he stopped trying to answer and simply sat, and in that deep stillness, a smile spread across his face, not because he heard the sound, but because he realized there never was a sound, there never needed to be. The question itself was the teacher. Visualization. Sitting with the koan. Close your eyes now. Let the room fade. Let the effort fade. Imagine you're sitting in a temple. It is dusk. The candles are lit. And beside you sits the Zen master. He does not speak. He simply lifts one hand. Open. Still. And he looks at you not with expectation, but with stillness. You look at his hand. You listen. There is no sound, but something within you begins to stir. Not noise, not thought, just awareness, just being. This is the sound, not something heard, but something known. Breath practice, the space between claps. Let's breathe now, not to reach anything, but to become aware of what already is. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. Feel the space between thoughts. Feel the silence between words. Now, imagine a clap. One hand against another. Clap. Feel the impact. Now imagine only one hand, moving in the air. No contact. Just motion. No sound. But not emptiness. Presence. That's what the koan points to. Affirmations. The answer is not an answer. Repeat gently within you. I don't need to understand everything to find peace. The mystery is not a problem. It is the doorway. I allow myself to sit in the unknown. Silence is also a teacher. What I seek is already here. Beneath the questions. Let these phrases wash over you, like waves that don't crash, but cradle. The paradox is the path. Zen often teaches through paradox. What is your face before your parents were born? When both hands are clapped, a sound is produced. Now, what is the sound of one hand? Without speaking, without silence, tell me the truth. These questions aren't cruel. they're compassionate. They stop the restless mind. They break the pattern. They pull you out of your head and into presence. And once you stop chasing the answer, you become the space in which it could appear. Not all wisdom has words. Sometimes, peace doesn't come from knowing. It comes from surrender. The sound of one hand clapping is not something to hear. It is something to become. A being who does not need everything to resolve. A spirit that rests, even when the mind cannot. A soul that smiles in the midst of questions and says, "This too is enough." When you reach the place where there is no answer, that is where Zen begins. So sleep now, not with conclusions, but with openness. Sleep like the monk, who stopped trying to hear and finally began to listen. Sleep with the question, still floating in your breath. What is the sound of one hand clapping? You don't need to know. You only need to listen. And be. Chapter 19. Reflection, the beauty of not knowing. You don't need all the answers to feel peace. You only need to stop believing you're lost without them. We were taught to seek clarity, to chase knowledge, to solve problems, to fix things, to ask why, and never rest until we hear an answer. We were trained to think, if I understand it, then I'll be okay. But what if understanding isn't the only doorway to peace? What if you could rest without explanation? What if the most sacred wisdom comes not from knowing, but from being? The pressure to know. The mind is always busy. It says, why did this happen to me? What is the meaning behind this pain? What do I need to do to fix this? What if I choose wrong? What if I don't figure it out in time? And we call that responsibility. We call that maturity. We call that being wise. But Zen whispers, true wisdom is not heavy. It is light. It doesn't cling to answers. It breathes with the question. The gift of mystery. Some of the most important things in your life. You didn't plan. You didn't understand them when they came. You didn't know why they happened the way they did. But looking back, you see a thread. Maybe not a reason, but a rhythm. A whisper of alignment. A hidden kindness in the chaos. And that is the beauty of not knowing. Life is not a puzzle to solve. The more you try to figure out life, the more life escapes your grasp. It is not a math equation, not a locked box, not a courtroom with clear verdicts. Life is a river. It cannot be held, only floated in. And once you stop trying to make perfect sense of it, you feel it, not as logic, but as wonder, visualization, resting in the unknown. Close your eyes now. Let your thoughts fade like mist. Picture yourself in a vast forest. The sky above is painted with early stars. You don't have a map. You don't have a plan. And strangely, you feel okay. You walk gently among the trees. Their silence comforts you. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know why some things happened. You don't know what's next. But you're here, and the moonlight kisses your skin, as if to say, you don't need to know everything to belong. On-breath practice. Let the question float. Breathe in, slow and deep. Breathe out, like a feather falling. Let any question rise, and let it drift, not to be answered, just to be seen. Now repeat inwardly. I release the need to know. I rest in the mystery. Peace does not require answers. Breathe again. Inhale stillness. Exhale surrender. You are not here to master the riddle. You are here to soften into the silence beneath it. Got affirmations, I am safe without the answer. Let these truths settle deep within you. I am at peace with not knowing. The mystery is part of the magic. I let go of the pressure to understand everything. I allow life to unfold without force. Even when I don't know what's happening, I trust that I'm held. There is great strength in surrender. Not giving up, but letting go. Letting life show you what it's ready to reveal. When you stop demanding it, explain itself. When not knowing heals you. Sometimes, the most healing thing is not advice, not a reason, not an answer. Sometimes it's someone saying, you don't have to figure it out tonight. So I'll say that to you now, softly. You don't have to figure it out tonight. You don't need the plan. You don't need the lesson. You don't need the why. You only need this moment, and breath, and rest. Stillness is its own kind of knowing. Not knowing is not the same as being lost. It is an openness, a space. It's when the mind loosens and the soul begins to listen. And sometimes, in that stillness, you hear something deeper than reason. A presence, a warmth, a quiet assurance, not in words, not in thoughts, but in the way the body softens without being told to. That is knowing without knowing, and it is enough. If you understand, things are just as they are. If you do not understand, things are just as they are. Zen saying. So sleep now, not as someone searching, but as someone found, right where they are. Sleep as the one who no longer carries the burden of answers. Sleep as the one who lets life breathe on its own. The beauty of not knowing is that it makes space for everything else. You are safe. You are enough. And you don't need to know more than that. Chapter 20. Story. The farmer's luck. Is it good? Is it bad? Maybe. Let's wait and see. There was once an old farmer who lived in a quiet village at the edge of the mountains. His hands were rough with years of work. His back bent slightly from decades of tending his land. He owned one horse, one field, and a small wooden house where he lived alone, with the gentle rhythm of the earth. He never spoke much, but when he did, his words came slow, as if each one had taken time to grow. One day, the horse ran away. One morning, the farmer awoke to find his stable empty. His only horse, gone. No tracks, no sound, just an open gate and emptiness. The villagers came running. "Oh no," they cried. "Your only horse. How unlucky." The farmer looked out across the empty field, his eyes soft, his breath steady. He simply said, "Maybe." The horse returned, with friends. A few days later, just as the sun was setting behind the hills, the farmer heard hooves, and there was his horse. But not alone. Behind it followed 3 wild horses, strong, beautiful, untamed. The villagers rushed over again, amazed. "What luck!" they cheered. "Now you have 4 horses. This is wonderful." The farmer, brushing his hand gently along one of their manes, replied, "Maybe." Gouge, then his son broke his leg. The farmer had one son, a young man who helped him with the daily work. The next day, trying to tame one of the wild horses, the son was thrown. He fell hard. His leg broke. The villagers gasped. "This is terrible news," they cried. "Your only son, and now he cannot work. How unlucky!" The farmer stood at the door, looking down at his son's bandaged leg, and softly said, "Maybe." On the soldiers came. The following week, war broke out in the land. Soldiers rode through the village, demanding every able-bodied young man be taken to the front lines. But when they saw the farmer's son, unable to walk, they passed him by. He was spared. Once again, the villagers gathered in awe. "You are so lucky," they said. "Your son is safe." And once more, the old farmer said, "Maybe," the wisdom in his silence. The farmer never rushed to label events. He didn't panic when things seemed bad. He didn't celebrate too loudly when they seemed good. He simply watched, breathed, waited, because he understood something most people forget. Life is still unfolding. What looks like a curse may become a blessing. What seems like a blessing may hold a challenge. And in truth, we almost never know which is which, until much later. Reflection. Holding life gently. Now, think of something you've judged harshly in your past. A moment that felt bad, a loss, a failure, a disappointment. And ask yourself, did something unexpected come from it? A shift? A redirection? A softening of the heart? And if not yet, could it still? Zen teaches, you don't have to label everything immediately. You can say, "I don't know what this means yet. Let's wait and see." Visualization, the wheel turning. Close your eyes now. Picture a large wooden wheel. It turns slowly, gently, endlessly. Each spoke represents a moment, a joy, a sorrow, a surprise. But the wheel keeps turning. No event stays forever. No feeling is permanent. And what feels bad now may simply be a turning point to something greater. Watch the wheel turn and breathe. Ute breath practice. Release the judgment. Inhale, feel the story you're holding. Exhale, release your need to label it. Inhale into the unknown. Exhale into peace. Repeat softly in your mind, maybe this is not what it seems. I trust the unfolding. What feels unclear now may reveal beauty later. You don't need the ending tonight. You only need trust. Let life unfold. Breathe these truths into your body. I let go of rushing to label things. I allow life to show me its meaning in time. Every experience has the potential to teach or bless. What feels wrong now may be right later. I walk with open hands and a patient heart. Let them echo gently as you begin to float deeper into sleep. You are not here to judge the journey. You are not the judge of your life. You are the witness. Let the world keep turning. Let the wheel keep moving. Let the surprises come without forcing them into categories. Because maybe, just maybe, what you thought was your worst moment will one day be your deepest source of strength. What you resisted will become what freed you. What you feared will become what made you wise. Good, bad, hard to say. Let it be. Let it move. Let it teach. Sleep now, not needing to know, not needing to define, just resting, like the farmer, still, open, watching, and whisper, if you like, before you drift off, maybe, and that is enough. Chapter 21. Reflection. Trusting the flow of things. Not everything needs to be controlled. Some things are meant to carry you. There is a river that moves through everything. It doesn't speak. It doesn't push. It doesn't ask for attention. But it's always there. Through every change, through every ending, through every unknown. Zen calls this the way, the Tao, the flow. It's not something to force. It's something to follow. Contre, the illusion of control. We spend so much of our energy trying to control what we cannot, trying to predict the future, fix the past, force people to be different, push outcomes to arrive on our schedule. But it never works, because the more we fight the current, the more tired we become. And life, in its quiet wisdom, whispers, let go. What if life knows more than you? What if the thing you're holding onto is the very thing weighing you down? What if the current that you're afraid of was actually trying to help you? What if surrender isn't failure, but faith? Imagine this. You're in a boat. The river is calm, but you're paddling against it. Hard. You're sweating, stressing, trying to go upstream because your mind told you that's where the answers are. But you're not moving. You're exhausting yourself. Now, you drop the oars, and suddenly, you glide. Not aimless, not out of control, but carried, gently, exactly where you're meant to be. Visualization, floating with the current. Close your eyes now. Feel yourself lying in a small boat. The sky is open above you. The water below is soft, moving in slow ripples. You are not steering. You are not rowing. You are simply floating. The river knows where to go, and the wind hums softly. You are allowed to rest. Trust doesn't mean knowing. To trust the flow of life doesn't mean you understand it. It means you stop resisting it. It means you stop assuming that you're supposed to know the way. You allow the unfolding. You allow the pauses. You allow the redirections. You allow the quiet. Because trust is not a plan. It's a posture. It's the way you breathe. When nothing is certain. It's the way you soften when the mind demands answers. Affirmations. I flow with life. Whisper these gently inside. I trust what I cannot see. I release the need to control. Life knows where it's going. The current carries me to what is mine. What is for me cannot miss me. Breathe between each phrase. Let them sink in, like moonlight on water. You are not drifting. You are floating with purpose. What if every detour was the way? Think of something in your life that didn't go the way you wanted. A change, a delay, a door that closed. And ask yourself, did something new emerge? Did you become someone wiser, softer, more awake? The flow of life isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. And sometimes what feels like a detour is actually a deeper path. One you wouldn't have chosen, but one you needed. Called The Way is Gentle. You don't have to fight so hard. You don't have to prove you're strong. You don't have to hold the map all the time. You're allowed to say, I don't know where I'm going, but I trust that life is taking me there. Breath practice. Release into the river. Inhale slowly and fully. Exhale, like water returning to the ocean. Again, inhale with trust. Exhale without control. Now repeat inwardly. I am safe in the flow. I float with the current of life. Every breath is a step forward. Everything moves, and so do you. Nothing in nature stays still. The clouds shift, the wind moves, the rivers change shape, the trees drop their leaves, and you too are allowed to move, to grow, to release, to be carried. You are not stuck. You are becoming. And if it ever feels like you're falling, remember, sometimes falling is just another way of flowing. The water flows because it doesn't resist. It becomes the path by letting go of the path. Zen proverb. So sleep now, like a leaf on the water, unworried, unafraid, unattached. Sleep not because you've figured it all out, but because you don't need to anymore. Life is holding you, and it's okay to rest. The current moves, and so will you, gently, naturally, exactly on time. Chapter 22. Story, Carrying the Woman. Why are you still carrying her? 2 monks were walking down a quiet, muddy road. Their robes brushed against their ankles. The sky above was grey. It had rained the night before, and the ground was soft and slick. One monk was older, calm, grounded, his eyes like still water. The other was younger, newer to the practice, more reactive, still learning to still himself. As they walked, they came upon a woman standing at the edge of a puddle. She was dressed in a fine silk robe and could not cross without getting soaked. She stood, hesitating, frowning, clearly frustrated. Without a word, the older monk walked up to her, lifted her gently in his arms, carried her across the muddy road, and set her down on the dry path. She did not thank him. She didn't smile. She just turned and walked away. The younger monk said nothing, but his eyes narrowed. Hours passed. The 2 monks walked in silence, the forest rising up around them, the wind gentle through the leaves. But the younger monk's silence grew tight, restless, uneasy, until finally he burst out. Why did you do that? We're not supposed to touch women. It's against the teachings. You know that. The older monk walked a few more steps, then looked at him gently and said, I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? What we carry in our minds. The body lets go quickly, but the mind holds on to slights, to judgments, to frustrations, to what people said or didn't say, to the way they looked at us, to the things they should have done, but didn't. We replay, we retell, we rehearse the wound like a performance. We never tire of starring in. But Zen says, if it's heavy, why are you still holding it? Visualization, dropping the backpack. Close your eyes now. Imagine you're walking through a quiet forest. On your back, a heavy backpack filled with thoughts, memories, grievances, regrets. You've been carrying it for years. You come to a clearing, soft grass, open sky, peaceful stillness. You kneel and remove the backpack. It's heavier than you remembered. You unzip it. You look inside. Each item a story, a wound, a name, a scene, and one by one, you place them on the ground. You don't need them anymore. The forest doesn't ask for them. The sky doesn't care. Only you have kept them alive. And now, you let them go. Huge. The wisdom of the older monk. The older monk was not careless. He wasn't breaking rules out of disrespect. He was simply present. He saw someone in need. He helped. And then he moved on. No story. no ego, no inner debate. He didn't hold on to the act. He didn't judge the woman's silence. He didn't carry the moment longer than it needed to live. That is peace. Breath practice. Let it leave you. Inhale gently. Exhale completely. Again, inhale and feel what you've been carrying. Exhale and release the weight. Now, repeat silently. I release what I no longer need. Not everything deserves my energy. I set down what no longer belongs to me. Breathe deeper. There is space now where the burden once was. Forgiveness is for you. Sometimes we carry things not because we want to, but because we think we have to. We think holding on is how we protect ourselves. We think replaying the past is how we avoid future pain. But all it does is steal our peace. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It's saying you're okay now, and you don't need to carry it anymore. Affirmations. I set it down. Let these truths settle into your heart. I am not what I carry. I let go of the past with love. I forgive so I can rest. The story no longer serves me. I am light. I am free. Each word is a soft unfolding. Each breath a release. The power of moving on quietly. Notice something. The older monk never argued. He didn't defend himself. He didn't explain. He didn't need the younger monk's approval. He simply walked on, because when you are at peace, you don't need to prove it. You don't need to be right. You don't need to be seen. You don't need to be understood. You just need to be free. Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Buddhist proverb. So sleep now, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. Set it down, whatever it is. The memory, the name, the regret, the old wound, the unspoken apology. You don't need it tonight. Let the silence hold you instead. Let your breath carry only stillness. You are safe. You are soft. And you are free. Chapter 23. Reflection. What we carry and what carries us. Some burdens were never meant to be yours, and some peace is waiting to carry you home. We carry so many things without realizing it, not in our hands, but in our shoulders, our breath, our jaw, our sleep. We carry the weight of people's expectations, the heaviness of our own self-judgment, the ache of things we didn't say, the tension of trying to hold everything together. And when someone asks, "How are you?" we smile and say, "I'm fine." But inside, we are heavy. What are you carrying? Not all burdens are visible. Some come from long ago, childhood stories, old shame, the fears we inherited, from voices that told us we weren't enough. Some come from just this week, a hard conversation, a silent disappointment, a wound that didn't bleed, but bruised the heart. Some we carry out of love, some out of habit, some we've forgotten we're even carrying. But tonight, you are allowed to set it all down. Good. A body full of weight. Have you ever noticed how your body holds stories? The tightness in your chest when you're worried, the clenching in your stomach when you're afraid, the heaviness in your back when you're trying too hard. The body remembers, even when the mind forgets. And so tonight, we don't fight it. We don't fix it. We feel it, and we breathe through it until the body softens and begins to release. Visualization. the room of release. Close your eyes now. Picture yourself in a quiet, warm room. It has no furniture, no mirrors, just space and silence. You step in carrying bags, not in your hands, but in your heart. Each one holds something, an old memory, a recent worry, a disappointment, a grudge, a pressure you feel, a burden you took on for someone else. Now, you place them down, one by one. You don't need to open them. You don't need to explain them. Just set them down and feel your spine rise. Feel your breath deepen. Feel your soul remember. I was never meant to carry everything. What if you let life carry you? We often think, it's up to me. I have to figure it all out. I can't fall apart. If I don't carry this, who will? But what if you were never meant to carry it all? What if life was meant to hold you too? What if surrender was not weakness, but sacred permission to be human, to be soft, to be supported, to be carried? Who carries you? Sometimes we are the strong one, the caretaker, the dependable one, the fixer. But who holds you when you're tired? Tonight, let it be this space. Let it be this silence. Let it be this breath. You don't have to solve anything. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be anyone but the one who rests. Breath practice. Lighten the load. Inhale and feel the weight. Exhale and release it into the dark. Let the stillness absorb it. Again, inhale, feel your body. Exhale, feel it soften. Now repeat gently. Not everything is mine to carry. I release the weight I've held too long. I trust what carries me now. Breathe again and again, like water flowing back to the sea. Ute affirmations. I am light. I am carried. Whisper these silently. I am allowed to rest. I am supported by life. I release the invisible burdens. I choose peace over pressure. The weight I carried no longer defines me. You are not your struggle. You are not your pain. You are not what others asked you to carry. You are breath. You are being. You are becoming. And you are allowed to be free. You don't need to hold it all tonight. Sleep is the sacred pause, a surrender to the unseen arms that hold you when you finally stop holding everything else. So tonight, let life carry you. Let stillness hold you. Let peace be what tucks you in. You are safe. You are enough. You are deeply carried by something larger than all your burdens combined. Sometimes the heaviest things we carry are the ones we can't see. And sometimes the greatest strength is letting them go. Sleep now as someone light, unburdened, not because the world changed, but because you did. You chose to rest, to set it down, to trust. What carries you? Chapter 24. Story. The bamboo and the storm. The tree that resists the wind breaks, the bamboo bends and survives. There was once a storm, fierce, relentless, with winds that screamed through the valley, and rain that pounded the earth like drums of war. It came without warning, clouds darkening the sky, like grief on the face of joy. The birds flew for cover, the animals scattered, and in a quiet grove just outside a village stood two kinds of trees, tall, proud oaks, and slender, gentle bamboo. One, the storm arrives. As the storm surged, the mighty oaks braced themselves. They clenched their roots. They stood still, unbending, unmoving, resisting. The bamboo, thin and flexible, did not resist. It danced. It swayed with the wind. It bent low to the earth, almost as if bowing in reverence to the storm. It did not fight. It did not snap. It simply yielded. Utes after the wind. When the storm finally passed, the sun rose softly behind grey clouds, and the villagers came out to survey the land. They found many of the great oaks broken, splintered, torn from the ground. But the bamboo, still standing, still rooted, still swaying, now in the soft breeze of morning peace. One child, barefoot and wide-eyed, stood among them and whispered. The bamboo did not fight the storm, and that's why it's still here. The wisdom of yielding. In life, we are taught to stand firm, to be strong, to never back down. But Zen teaches a quieter wisdom. The soft overcomes the hard. The flexible survives the rigid. Sometimes, strength is not in resistance, but in resilience. Not in standing tall, but in knowing when to bow. Not in control, but in surrender. Visualization. You are bamboo. Close your eyes now. Feel yourself as a bamboo stalk in a quiet grove. Your roots deep in the earth. Your stem long and light. A wind begins to rise. And instead of fighting it, you move. Gracefully, softly, you bend with the breeze. You lean into the wind. You bow without breaking. Because you are not here to resist life. You are here to flow with it. You are not meant to break. Think of something in your life right now that feels like a storm, a challenge, a pressure, a conflict, a moment that pushes you beyond your comfort. And ask yourself, can I soften here? Can I yield just a little? Can I trust that this moment too will pass? You don't have to prove your strength by clenching your fists. You can show it by relaxing your jaw, loosening your breath, bending but never breaking. Move with the wind. Inhale, feel the wind inside your chest. Exhale, let it move through you. Again, inhale, imagine the storm. Exhale, become bamboo in its presence. Now repeat within. I bend. I do not break. I am flexible and free. Softness is my strength. Let your body follow. Loosen the shoulders. Unclench the jaw. Let go. You are allowed to be soft. Ute affirmations. My peace is stronger than the storm. Say these quietly within you. I yield without fear. I am rooted in peace. The storm cannot break what bends. I move with grace through life's changes. I survive because I surrender. You are like bamboo, grounded yet light, gentle yet unshakable, soft yet enduring. Not every battle needs your sword. Sometimes the true warrior is the one who lays down the sword, who stops arguing, who walks away in peace, who bows instead of breaking. Zen doesn't ask you to be invincible. It asks you to be real, to respond, not react, to pause, not push, to feel, not fear. And when the storm comes, you don't need to fight it. You just need to breathe and bend and wait. The storm will pass. You will remain. Sleep now, like a forest of bamboo at dusk, swaying gently in the night wind. Unbothered, unafraid. Let the storms of thought pass by. Let the winds of emotion move through you. You do not need to cling to stillness. You are stillness, because even when the world swirls, you are rooted, and even if you bend, you remain. The storm teaches what the sun cannot. That resilience lives in surrender, and peace in softness. Sleep, not as someone escaping the storm, but as someone who has learned to let it move through you without losing yourself. Tonight, the storm has passed, and you are still here, peaceful, unbroken, alive, just like the bamboo. Chapter 25, Closing Blessing. You were always the light. You were never lost, just covered in clouds, and now the sky is clear again. Close your eyes now. If they're not already closed, let them fall like soft curtains. After a beautiful performance of the soul, there is nothing more to do, nothing more to fix, no more stories to carry, no more roles to play. You have done the inner work simply by listening, by breathing, by allowing yourself to be still. And now you return, not to the world, but to you, the journey you took tonight. Tonight, you walked the invisible path. You crossed rivers of emotion. You laid down bags of sorrow. You stood at the temple gate of your own spirit. And even if it felt quiet, even if you doubted, you journeyed far, because the longest path is often only a few inches long, from your head to your heart. And tonight, you arrived. You were the answer all along. We chase peace like it's something far away. We look for truth in distant teachings. We seek stillness in the world outside us. But what if the whole time you were the answer, not the problem, not the broken one, not the lost soul, but the quiet light beneath every storm, the presence underneath all noise, the bamboo that never breaks. You were never missing. You were simply waiting to be seen again. Your breath is a prayer. Right now, your breath is soft. It doesn't need to be deep. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be. Each inhale is a return. Each exhale is a release. You don't need to ask for healing. The healing is already here, in your chest, in this silence, in this sacred now. Breathe and know you are enough. Whisper these truths. Gently now, repeat these within you. I am safe. I am whole. I let go of suffering. I am light. I return to peace. Again, slower. I am light. I return to peace. These are not just words. They are doors, and you are already walking through them. Sleep is the temple. Sleep is not a failure. It is not weakness. Sleep is sacred. It is the great reset, the silent teacher, the quiet blessing. You are not falling asleep. You are falling into yourself, into the deeper layers of who you've always been. Let the mind dissolve. Let the body float. Let the soul exhale. You don't need to hold yourself anymore. The universe is holding you. If no one told you today, let this voice tell you, you are not behind. You are not too much. You are not alone. You are enough. You are deeply loved. And you are held. You were not forgotten by the universe. You are part of it, as much as stars and rivers and morning light. And nothing, absolutely nothing, can take that away. The light was never gone. Sometimes clouds cover the sun, and we think it's vanished. But the sun never leaves. It's just hidden, softened, waiting. And so too is your light. It was never broken, never extinguished, just covered by fear, by stories, by wounds. But tonight you saw through the clouds, and there it was, the you beneath everything, shining. The moon does not cry when the clouds hide it. It waits, knowing it is still whole, even when unseen. Zen poem 10. Final blessing. So rest now, not just in body, but in spirit. You are exactly where you need to be. You do not need to rush. You do not need to figure it all out. You do not need to become more. You just need to remember, you were always the light. Sleep well, beloved listener, and may you rise tomorrow, not as someone new, but as someone finally at peace with who you are. The suffering is no longer yours. The peace has already begun. Joe, a sacred goodbye that is not the end. You've let go of so much, and yet nothing real was ever lost. Stay here, just for a little longer. Don't rush to open your eyes. Don't rush to leave. There is no need to move. Not yet. Not from this sacred space you've created inside. This was not just a video. It was a temple made of sound. A retreat wrapped in story. A return to the stillness that has always lived beneath your pain. And here you are now, not healed perfectly, not fixed like a machine, but lighter, clearer, softer. You've let go, and now you are held. A journey few take. What you did tonight, most people never do. They numb, they run, they avoid, they distract themselves until the suffering is louder than their joy. But you walked into the fire of your own mind. You faced the storm of your own stories. You sat quietly in the room of your heart and said, I'm listening now. That is bravery, and that is sacred. Letting go without losing yourself. Sometimes we fear that letting go means losing everything. That if we drop the pain, we drop the meaning. That if we let go of who we were, we'll have no one left to be. But tonight, you've seen a deeper truth. Letting go doesn't erase you, it reveals you. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming visible beneath the weight you no longer carry. Like a statue, finally uncovered. Like a flame, finally unshielded. Like a soul, finally allowed to breathe. You are not alone in this. If you listen to this tonight, wherever you are in the world, whatever country, city, time zone, or bed you're in, you are not alone. Right now, countless others are breathing this same breath with you. They too are laying down what no longer serves them. They too are tired of carrying pain as identity. They too are rediscovering the gentle joy of just being. And somewhere in the quiet, you are all connected. Not through noise, but through silence. Rid the invisible work you did. You may think, but I just listened. But no, you transformed. You slowed down. You let your mind open. You faced the shadows with curiosity. You breathed where once you would have tensed. You surrendered where once you would have fought. That is the real work. The invisible work the sacred work of returning to peace without needing to win a war. That is mastery. The shift has already begun. You may not feel it yet. That's okay. Sometimes the shift is not loud. It doesn't always bring fireworks. It doesn't come with applause. It comes like dawn, slow, silent, undeniable. And when you wake tomorrow, you may feel just a little different, lighter, more spacious, less reactive, more whole. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a softer way of living. What to do now? There's no to-do list, no homework, no pressure. Just be gentle. Drink water like it's holy. Move like your body is your oldest friend. Speak to yourself like someone you're falling in love with. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. And when life gets loud again, and it will, you know where to return. To stillness, to breath, to these stories, to yourself. Let these final affirmations sink in. Say them silently, softly. Let them echo into your bones. I am not my suffering. I am not behind in life. Everything I needed was always within me. I release with peace. I rise with grace. I rest in truth. I walk in light. I love who I am becoming. I am whole even in my healing. You don't need to believe all of them yet. Just let them sit there. Like seeds, they will grow. A quiet invitation. If this journey moved something in you, come back to it. Maybe tomorrow night. Maybe next week. Maybe years from now. The stories won't change, but you will. And each time, you'll hear something new. And if it brought you peace, even a little, please consider subscribing or just leaving a quiet comment. Not for me, but for the next soul who stumbles here in the dark of their own night, looking for a light. Your words might be the flame that warms their way. I'd love to hear from you. If you're still awake, just barely, whisper into the comments, I let go. Let the world know you were here, that you showed up for yourself, that you crossed a threshold most people are afraid to even approach. Tell me where you're listening from, what time it is, what story touched you most, or just say hello, and I'll say hello back, softly, gratefully, because even if we've never met, I see your spirit, and it is beautiful. Artseer, if you'd like to go deeper, there's more where this came from. More stories, more teachings, more sacred spaces to help you fall asleep, heal, and grow. You can find them right here on the channel, but only if your heart says yes. No pressure, no algorithm, just quiet guidance for quiet souls who are ready to live without carrying suffering. The light was always you. One last thing, before you drift off completely. Remember, you were never broken. You were never weak. You were never too much. You were simply covered in clouds. And now, the light can shine through again. And that light, it was always you. Sleep now, sacred one. The stories are done. The lessons have settled. The silence has arrived. Sleep now, as someone who has returned. Sleep now, as someone who has released. Sleep now, as someone who no longer needs to carry what never belonged to them. You are weightless. You are whole. You are already home. Let go one last time and fall into the deepest peace. you've ever known. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, jot sleep softly, walk gently, and remember, you were always the light. Good night.